Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's study session. Over the last 6 months, we've been working through some range construction, 100 big blinds deep, 40 big blinds deep, 20 big blinds deep, and a lot of three betting work. And now we're going to take all of that range construction work that we've been doing, and we're going to work it into range interaction. So we're going to play as one spot versus another, and we're going to look at kind of both sides of the equation and why different hands favor uh, different players in different positions. And so that's going to take us for a bit of a ride. And it's kind of the way in which my coach, Louis Philippe, introduced me to poker study years ago. Um, on that end of things, he taught me when I'm doing my Hold'em study to create folders for everything that we're going to do, and then create it by position, and then create it position versus position, and then fill in from in position and out of position. And so I've been able to work on this as a ongoing project of my own over the last few years. And so when I find myself in a spot where I'm having trouble, I'm able to go to my notes and take a look and see, okay, why is this a tendency here? Why did I miss this spot? And so, I would encourage you guys, think about this type of a system, whatever works for you, whether it's a notebook and paper, a file folder system, right? And just put down some of these ideas that are going to kind of come out of these study groups over the next little while. So we're going to use one of our favorite tools, of course, GTO Wizard Trainer.
Hey, Peter, can I ask a question?
For sure, always.
And I think this might help clarify because so range construction would be understanding the range that villain should have, or what our own range looks like.
Mhm.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about what the difference is between range construction and range interaction?
Excellent. So we're going to take a look at that here in a moment. So right now, we'll take a look at range construction. And so here we go. We're going to look at pre-flop. We're going to do 40 big blinds, cut off first button today. So we're going to kind of start at like maybe the most, a pretty easy entry point. So range construction. Now, when we've been looking at it, we can see that sixes and nines are the range construction for the cutoff for what they're going to be playing. They're going to be playing a little more of this and a little more of this and a little more of this, right? They're suited connectors, their best suited hands, and their best offsuit hands. But the fundamental elements of their construction is going to be this box of sixes and nines, right? And when we take a look at it, they fold, the button is eights and fives, and the hijack is sevens and tens, right? So sevens, tens, right? And then it's going to be eights and tens for the for the low jack. It's going to be eights and jacks mixing for under the gun one, and it's going to be jacks and nines for under the gun, right? So as we go here, right, we can see this range construction is suited nines and offsuit jacks, right? As hands that are going to open. So when we talk about interaction, we're going to not talk about one person's range. What we're going to do is we're going to start here on the cutoff, and we're going to open, and the button is going to have kind of two choices that we're going to play. The button can either call or raise. And we're going to deal with these two in separate ways. So we're going to start with calling, and we're going to get to a flop. And then from that flop, we're going to work on all of the ideas of how ranges interact, and we're going to do it from both sides. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but we're going to look at that in a sec here. So range construction is kind of how you determine whether you're getting in the pot or out of the pot. And then range interaction is going to be post flop play based on how the hands that you enter the pot in your entire range interact with the board in a way that's more favorable for your range or more favorable for your opponent's range.
Got it.
And so
Okay,
then,
cool.
yeah, we're gonna work on that. And then where there's gonna be wide spots, like button versus cutoff and button versus big blind, you're gonna be able to use that to extrapolate how to play against very loose players. And when we have like under the gun against button, you're going to be able to extrapolate how to play against really tight players from that spot. And so I'll give you an example. The other day, my friend Louis was doing a hand history review, and we were looking at a guy who was running deep in the $400 ring event yesterday or 2 days ago. And he had a spot where there was a guy who had a 12% VPIP in about 300 hands, right? They were pretty deep in this tournament. And he was like, okay, I'm gonna raise this king jack, and if this guy jams, he's only got 7 or 8 bigs, I'm gonna have to call him off. And he was like, this guy has a 12% range construction, like 12% range construction. It's not going to be very good for king jack. Right? So it was like, okay, yeah, maybe this was a spot where I should have raised folded instead of raised called off, right? And sure enough, what does the guy turn over? Queen, queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll take a look at that. So we're going to look at range interaction once we decide what to do here. Before that, we're also going to do a little bit of range construction work and pick some hands and say, okay, is this going to fit in our call bucket, our fold bucket, or our 3-bet bucket? And then at what frequency? So we're going to review a little bit of that. And then for now, we're just going to play all the hands that call. And then later on, we'll do all the hands that 3-bet. And we'll look at the differences between 3-betting hands, 3-bet pots with these two spots and called spots with these two spots. So Jack 9 on the button. Are you guys folding, calling, or raising this?
That's a fold.
The fold? I like that. It is a fold. Hope I don't have too many of those in here, or else this is going to require a bit of modification. Okay, queen jack, that's better. All right. Call, raise, or fold? And if so, how often are you raising this?
I think it's like a 60-40 raise.
Okay, so very frequent raise for you. Okay, excellent numbers, 64-35. That's functionally the exact ratio you're looking for. So we're going to work as just a call for now. We're going to take a look at a flop, and then we're going to do some work. All right, monotone board, ace 10-9, facing a lead from the cutoff. I don't think there's anything to do but call here. Do you guys think anything to do?
Yeah, I don't think we can fold and call.
Yeah, just call.
Okay, so now we're going to get into range interaction. So we're going to go down a bit of a theory road here for a couple of minutes as we look at kind of the bigger picture of things. So we've now gotten to this flop. The cutoffs strategy on this specific flop is to check 63% of the time and to bet small the rest of the time. They're going to be betting some of their worst stuff. So 9s, they're going to be betting some, right, with some backdoor straights. They're going to be betting their best aces, particularly ones that connect around the straight and ones with backdoor spade. But let's take a look at the totality of reports here. Take a look at all of the possible things that they're going to look at.
This is a high check. I think, yeah, this is a high check configuration.
Mhm.
Across all flips.
Go. So the cutoffs range construction. And so this is going to be across all flops, right? This is 25%, 50%, 75, 100. The green is all their checks. And so when we look, we just see a sea of green down to this point. So the cutoff is going to be checking high card boards a ton. Now we do notice that when it does bet, it's using some blue sizing, some gray sizing, some purple sizing. So half pot and bigger when it does bet. So it's infrequent and large when it does want to bet. So when you're out of position, you're doing a lot of that. Now we see a change when we get out of the too high card area. We now see it wanting to bet small. So ace, 9 and down, we see a lot more small betting. And now king, we go into, and we see the same type of behavior, paired kings. But when we get king with another high card, very polar, very infrequent. King with a jack, very polar, very infrequent. King with a 10, very polar, very infrequent. And then we get into king with smaller cards. We see the polar element disappear and a lot more small betting reappear. The queen, same type of thing. Queen with connection with another high card. It wants to have a polarized bet strategy. And queen with a lower card, it is checking a ton and betting small when it wants to bet. Jack, we see a little bit of the same thing, betting small. When you get past like 10-7, 10-6, you are still pretty polar with these 10s. And then we see a real big change in the strategy around the number 9. So 9s and 8s and 7s, we get to bet a lot. And if we take a look, the hands where we are betting our 10 the most is with paired 9s. And the hand where we're betting the jacks the most is there, jack with paired 9s. So we can see even in the hands where we're kind of looking at the high cards here. This 9 is something in the range that is driving up our bet frequency, and it continues throughout all of these high card flops. So the 9 seems to be a range specific card. So let's go back and take a look at some strategy EV and see why the 9 is so important for the cutoff. So we'll look, the cutoff is opening all these offsuit 9s and all these suited 9s. So 9s compose a large part of their flop frequency. The button is folding all these offsuit 9s and is missing some of these 9s because they will have 3-bet them at some frequency as well, right? When we take a look at the pre-flop strategy for the button has 3-bet queen 9, has 3-bet ace 9, has 3-bet pocket 9s. So they have ace nine, king nine, mostly queen nine, jack nine, and 10-9, but no offsuit nines. So here is a node where against a opponent who is going to play you in a GTO style, exploitatively, you can attack 9 boards very high. Same with 8s and same with 7s, right? Because our button is 3-betting some 8s and some 7s and not playing with any offsuit 8s and 7s, right? Whereas our cutoff is raising and has a little bit of offsuit 8 and has full frequency suited 8s. They have a little bit more of an advantage with these 8s and 7s than our opponent does. So it's not as big as 9s, but so here's kind of this first takeaway, is that when we look at range interaction, we can now see that there is an exploitative point when the board is 9 high. So that'll be
So
something
if we were to
note.
look at, oh, sorry, can I ask
Yeah.
you a question real quick?
Sure.
So if we were to look at a range comparison chart on a paired 9 board,
Mhm.
the most likely thing that we would see would be the RFI cutoff, or is it hijack? With a significant nut advantage.
So we get
The
9,
cutoff
9,
versus
4.
button. So yeah, so the cutoff would have a significant nut advantage if we were to look at the ranges between these two.
Yeah, and now you notice that when it's 994, 25% checking and a ton of big betting. Half pot, right, is the primary size here. And when we look at ranges, right, the cutoff, the yellow line, has a big advantage throughout the top of the graph here, right? And it is all to do with the amount of trip 9s in the hands, right? So,
Yeah, they have a lot more trips. Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Man. I appreciate that.
no problem. Yeah, 10.5% as opposed to 6.9%. And you
Yeah,
can
because button
see,
doesn't have, yeah, this is a perfect
Yeah.
visualization of what you're telling us. Button doesn't have any of the offsuit 9s.
so they're just playing these suiteds, and you're here with this, and so you're going to push that advantage kind of until your opponent tells you it's not safe to do this. This is the strategy, and that's why it leads us to this kind of wild out of position betting strategy here on this minutia of a board. So we are going to take a look at all of the boards here in a sec. And not just the paired boards, but we're going to look at the rainbow effect. So for the out of position player, the cutoff, we see a lot of checking. So green is checks. So on the ace high boards, there's a lot of checks. On the king high board, there's going to be a little bit less, a little bit more betting, right? You see some pretty range betty stuff with this ace mid low and ace low low rainbows. The king boards, the queen boards. Again, the 9 board just dominates the strategy. Our 10 boards are very polar, right? And our jack boards are very polar. We're going to have hands here that need protection from overcards rolling in from our player who's in position against us. So we don't want to make it easy for them to call. So our 9 boards are going to be very aggressive, as we saw. Our 8s and our 7s, slightly less so, but still that idea of we have a little more of the offsuit combo and a little more of the suited combos in this piece of the range. And then as the boards get lower and lower, we're going to have a advantage of overpairs, where they're going to have smaller overpairs and we're going to have more bigger overpairs in the cutoff. And so there's going to be some betting there. For the button, the strategy is going to be a little different.
So this
oh,
is the
that's
button
face,
facing a
sorry, that's facing a
third.
bet. So facing a raise, call, gotta go post flop here. Fold. There we go. Oh. Check, and the button, when it's checked to us, which is most of what the cutoff is going to do, right? They're checking 75% of the time on range. You can see that we have ace with a high card. We're going to have a bit of a polar sizing, so lots of checking, lots of big bets. So some half pots and 3/4 pot. Ace with small cards, right? Ace 8 down, particularly, we're going to see a lot of small betting. King with high cards, we're going to see some polarization, some big betting. King with small cards, small betting. Queen with big cards, big betting. Queen with small cards, small betting. And that kind of repeats itself all the way down here throughout the Broadway side of the board. When we get to the 9, because this is a card that is good for our opponent, we have to be pretty careful. And
So
so,
we're highly polarized
yeah,
as the-
so
when we're
our
checked to.
polarization, yeah, is much bigger here. Right? And so we can see that throughout these 9s and 10s. Right? In position, you do want to have a fairly frequent betting strategy, but this is the spot we have to be very careful with it. When we look at with a flush draw, so we're going to go and take a look with the cutoff first. So on a flush draw board, again, we can just see tons of checking, 75% checking with this flush draw. Super polar when we do bet, right? Again, here, ace 9-9, flush draw or no flush draw, wants to bet. Ace low is going to be a small bet. King with another high card, very polar. King 9-9, always bets.
I think the
And
interesting
king
thing is that we
small.
don't have any very many big bets in this monotone board when checked to.
Flush draw board. Monotone board is going to be.
Oh, sorry, flush draw.
Yeah, so queen's going to be the same way. Jack's going to be the same way. 10's going to be the same way. And then 9, we kind of lose our stuff again here, right? We love these 9s and 8 boards and 10 boards. And the other thing is, it's hard for our opponent to raise us because of how frequently we have trips here. So don't expect to get raised when you bet a 9 board very often, if your opponent knows what they're what you're up to. When it goes check, the button strategy on flush draw boards, again, very similar. Some polarization on flush draw boards with ace and 9 or bigger, and small betting ace 9 and smaller, big betting king with a high card, small betting king with low cards, queens high cards, queens low cards, jacks high cards, jacks low cards, right? That pattern kind of continues on and is pretty resilient even through the 9s here, right? And now on a flush draw board, it's just a lot of betting small under 10, right? We kind of lose the polarization aspect for most of our range. Under 10 and continue on with it when we were above 10. So we will take a look lastly at paired boards, and then we'll get to doing some work, and then we'll take a look at spots as we need to. So paired boards for the cutoff. Paired ace boards, with a 9, they love it. Paired ace boards with 9s, they love it. Right, love those 9s. Can see a lot of small bet strategy throughout. A lot of checking. When you have the 9s in there, it brings up that bet frequency. And a lot of checking. The 9 paired boards, these paired cards with a 9 are still pretty resilient here. They're still betting a lot and betting big. 9-3-3. Let's just go over pot. Pretty savage. So, yep. And then that is the cutoff. And let us find our button. Fold. Check and the button. And paired for button.
So this is when cutoff checks to button.
Cutoff checks the button, which is the most likely thing to happen. The button has.
Hey, your microphone just went really quiet.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right.
When it checks from the cutoff to the button, we can see the button is just betting small across almost all of the frequency, about 65 to 60% of the time, right? Just kind of a bit of a probe bet. And when the button takes that action, the cutoff is going to react with 33% folds, 45% calls, and 20% raises. So this is going to be fun when we do this range interaction, look at what we're check raising and why we're check raising it. And this is going to be the type of post flop play that we're going to do a lot of over the next little while. So, all right.
Good
Back
overview.
in
Thank you,
frame.
man.
Thank
Ag reports have a lot to teach us. It's a lot of information, but they have a lot to teach us.
They do, right? Because they're able to pick out those spots that, you know, are hard for us.
Yeah.
No. All right. So king 10 suited, we're going to take the call line for now. We'll look at 3-bet pots a little bit later. And so backdoor flush draw. 2 overs. 8 with a flush draw. Are we betting this high frequency or low frequency?
I thought it's a small and high frequency.
Okay.
A small betting, if I remember correctly.
This is a spot where the cutoff is going to have a bunch of leads too.
Yeah, but you checked, right?
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, it has a lot of checks. And so now we'll take a look at some specificity as we study this spot and see if all of the backdoor hearts want to check here. Because we are betting a fair amount and we are betting small.
Yeah,
This
that's what
particular
I thought.
King 10 of hearts did not want to bet so much. So let's take a look at hearts. Where is our love? Have I missed it? Okay, oh, here it is. Include hearts. So when we look at our hearts are checking back 45%. So they're checking back twice as much as our our range in general wants to check back. And we'll put it at full height to make it a little easier to see. It wants to check back these best ones here a lot. Right? It wants to bet when you have an 8. Wants to bet your 7s, your 6s, your 5s, your 4s. So these ones that all have better equity, right? Like we look at King 6 of hearts, which has 2.39 equity. And I mean, that's better than King Jack of hearts, right? That extra equity from being able to block your opponent realizing their value with a straight and being able to make the straight yourself is more valuable than you turning a king and having a better kicker here. Right?
And also, I think you don't want to get check raised, right?
Yeah, these hands are gonna be more resilient to a check raise than these,
Right, right.
right? Which these ones are looking to turn top pair, and we want to keep our opponent in. When we have King Jack,
Right.
we want to keep our opponent in with all the worst kings that can pay us off on the turn. These ones want to get our opponents to fold
Fold.
slightly better kings, which are going to cooler us on the turn. These ones are kind of cleaning up the equity of our middling kings here. Okay. So we'll take the check line, which was very prominent for king with a big card. And now we brick the turn. So another card that's pretty good for our opponent with the bottom of their range. They're gonna have some 7s, they're gonna have some 8s. Is this a spot that you want to bluff now?
I think it's gonna do both, but I think we're gonna have a high check frequency here.
Okay.
I mean, so there are 5-6 got there, they got some 5-6.
Check, check, kind of weak action, right? I might wanna bet small here to get some folds from ace highs.
So you think you could start getting better hands to fold? Some weak
King
aces.
Jack might fold. King
Sure.
Queen might fold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
single
I
suited.
honestly, I don't know about sizing.
Let's take a peek.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
sizing?
thinking, actually. Sizing should be a
Mhm.
bit polarized.
Yeah, so here we now are going to have a lot of checkbacks and a lot of big bets in our sizings. So checkback is definitely a very viable option here. You can see that the EV is pretty close across the board here. When you do bet, you are polarizing, but I mean, how many 8-high boards do you check that you now blast? Like, you're gonna have some 8s that check here, some of your worst 8s that picked up equity with the 7. Like if you have 8-6 or 8-5 suited here. I don't know that you have 8-5 suited though. Yeah, maybe just if you have like 8-9 that you checked on the flop. So. Go back and we can take a look at that spot.
Yeah, can we
quickly.
look at the turn strategy?
Turn as a strategy. So when it is checked to us, we're still checking 60% of the time. Our queen 10 now wants to bet a lot. Or sorry, king 10 now wants to
King
bet a
10.
lot. Wanted to check a lot before to try and realize the equity of the backdoor flush. And now it's just 2 overs and it's not really good, so it decides it's gonna have a bet. We have lots of value. The top pair still gets to go for value. We were betting a lot of sevens before. So some of the sevens check back, some of them continue to bet. We still have all these over pairs that get to bet. So because we have so many hands that are betting for value, these queens to eights and eights and king eight, because we have all of these values, we need to have bluffs to kind of go along, right? So even 8-6 is a pretty big value hand here. So it just starts pulling in all of these offsuits regs, betting them from kind of the bottom up. Right? I guess Jack 9 has a gut shot 10, so it's just trying to realize equity here with still 2 overs and a gutter. Same with 10-9. Open-ended and a couple overs. But all of the ones that don't have direct straight equity are trying to bluff here. King 10, Queen 10,
What spot is this?
King 9. So this is 40 big blinds, cutoff versus button. And we're just doing some range interaction work. Welcome to the party, Viv. And so we take the check back line and we face a disrespectful bet size on the river.
Yeah,
But I mean, if we think of all the hands that we get to defend here, I mean, it's also 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like just missing a 6, 4-liner. I think this is just gonna be a fold.
yeah, it's a fold, yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at it, savage.
We do get some ridiculous raises in there.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I'm finding this fold a lot. I am not finding this very often. That's a
Can we see
Yeah, I
the,
don't think I call here that often. I never, I
see.
mean, I,
He's betting his equity.
can we
Yeah.
see if we raise on the turn, what's his reaction?
if we raise on the turn. Okay. So the turn went check, check,
Yeah,
right? So if you want to turn his turn into a bet.
no, our turn,
Okay. So if
If you're
we
under-
bet the turn,
yes.
so if we bet the turn, we're going to be using 55 or 83. Both of them
Yeah.
pretty prominently. His strategy is to fold 60%. What he's raising from, it's going to be raising some mates and all these over pairs. And then a smattering of bluffs
Okay,
that are bottom pair. Yeah, a little bit of crazy king 9, queen 9, flush draw. Yeah, a few flushes he gets here with. A few flush draws he raises as bluffs. Because he just has a ton of value hands that he's here with too.
right,
Ace 8, king, queen 8, 10s, jacks, queens, kings. So when we bet, like if we get raised, he's got a lot of value here. So it's kind of a value battle of the 8s versus the over pairs here.
well, he's folding 60% of the hands, I think.
Yeah.
I think I would bet on the turn on this, but it's good to know the strategy, of course.
All right. Well, unfortunately, oh my goodness, there is some calling. Thank goodness.
So,
So we get to work on the call line when we flat with pocket kings here, and we get what we deserve.
of
Here's
course,
it. All right, ace, low, low, rainbow, in position. What's our general strategy here?
I think it's still, I mean, for the range.
Yep.
I think we've got some check back, but I think you're hinting that's not the case.
Yeah,
Raise
there's
low.
definitely gonna be check back. I think there's probably gonna be 40% check back here,
Yeah,
right? A
Yeah.
lot of small betting.
A lot of small betting and a lot of checking.
I mean, I think our hand has been downgraded because cutoff should be checking a lot of his ace X here. So I think I would check here.
Okay.
We've got essentially a little bit better than a marginal made hand at this point. And we don't need protection.
But
on
what
this
do you
board.
think about getting one street of value from when
From
our opponent
9.
holds a 9 or a 5 and giving one street of value when our opponent holds an ace?
Yeah, so I think that makes sense, but I think that would be on turn, right? So we would
Okay.
get our one street of value on turn.
I personally bet, but okay, I'm wrong.
Yep. So when we do flat this hand, we protect our range with this one. So let's take a peek at that range here. Because this is a spot where our range is going to want to bet. We're gonna bet about 40% of the time, 50% of the time.
We're gonna check two on that board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 10,
40%.
yeah, 38, so. Yeah, 40% of the time it wants to bet, 60% of the time it wants to check. So we're betting our best aces for value. We're betting a lot of 9s, we're bluffing a lot of 8s. And 7s because of the interaction between the 9 and the 5. Right, so you can barrel when the opposite card comes. So if you're betting king 7, queen 7, jack 7, 10, 7, you can bet when an 8 comes, when you bet these hands that have a 7 in them. You can try to realize your equity when you turn a king, a 7, a queen, right, or any of these pairs.
Does it matter that the 8x is blocking 9-8 suited?
The 8x is blocking 9-8 suited. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're blocking your opponent's value, it's good.
Okay.
Right? But I mean, it's still pretty wide here, right? Like on the flop, our ranges haven't really been narrow. So we're
Yeah.
still a super wide range against a super wide range. So blockers, like in a spot where it's under the gun versus under the gun 1, blockers are much more defined and much more relevant. But when you're in really wide spots where you're button versus cutoff or cutoff versus big blind, like those ranges are still so wide that like a little bit of blocker is slightly less effective. But
I could
yeah,
see that. Okay, cool.
so yeah, kings check back either way, and we face a pot plus bet on the turn. Oh, gross.
We can't fold.
And not fold, but I mean, the straight came in here.
Yeah,
Oh, this is looking gross. Get the barbecue out. It's less than a chip. Oh, thank goodness.
I don't think
Easy,
I don't
easy
think we
check
value
back.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna show ace. Ah,
Jack
Yeah, that
10.
makes sense.
So he turns that and he goes for one big blast. And then shuts down on a hand where we probably have a lot of 9s, even though 9 is a really good card for him. That is a little surprising. All right. But I mean, I guess we're not folding a lot of aces then that check back. So I'll take the call line here, even though this is raising a lot. This is why we don't have a lot of 9s in our range. But this is one of the times we do have a 9 and we get a good board for a 9. Okay. Flush draw. Connected. Flopped equity. 75 is already in the house.
So cutoff has all the 9x. And this is our only offsuit 9 that we actually play, right?
Mhm.
So it missed his range and it missed our range. I think generally this board is better for us and we do have backdoor. I think we might have some bets here.
Okay. Take
And
a look at that.
I think we B33.
I think that's going to be pretty prominent here. We have a spade. Right, we have a lot of cards we could barrel. Checks
get
back a
some.
fair amount, but 1/3 betting, 2/3 checking. I do like this with the spade here. The spade probably is going to be more frequently with the bigger spade, probably the king of spades, the queen of spades, even the ace of spades, of course.
Mhm.
So king 10 with a spade. Right, when we take a look at that, the 10 of spades, betting small. The king of spades sizing up. Right, wants to bet with the bigger size more often with the king of spades, the smaller size more often with the 10 of spades.
What about the ace nine off, which we have, but if we had the ace of spades?
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we bet more with the ace of spades.
yeah, the ace of spades is almost always betting. Right, the 9 of spades is betting less, but still betting sometimes. So good idea here. Again, we see eights are go betting. We love betting with a 7 here with it over. So there's a lot of that. Let's take a look at ranges, and we can see that it is pretty close. The button has a little bit of a range advantage all throughout the graph. So it just wants to bet small a lot here. Right in this spot where it has slightly better equity. 52-47, but it's pretty close. So small and frequent is the goal here. All right, queen of spades comes in. Now, if we have ace 9 with the ace of spades, I mean, I am betting this all the time. But I don't know that I'm betting the 9 of spades here.
So, I mean, so a general rule of thumb, and you can tell me if this is off base, is that if we turn additional equity with a bluff, we continue the bluff.
From out of position, yes. From in position, not so much.
Okay,
Yeah, out of position always wants more equity to continue bluffing. Almost always, I should say. In position doesn't need equity quite as much. But yeah,
In position, you have to consider your value of checking and getting your equity anyway. I mean, you don't really care if you bet and get raised off the 9 high flush draw. Versus you bet and then you get raised off of like an open-ended straight draw plus an overcard, you probably don't like that. So I guess it depends on how you value, like you don't care if you get raised off of a gut shot on the turn. And just like the 9 high flush draw, you don't really care if you get raised. So I think it might bet. Versus like if you have the 8 high flush draw, sometimes you might just want to be like, I want to realize. I don't
Well, this-
know.
what
this one
size do you
has-
think, Vivian?
I mean, but there's no real reason we still do have showdown value. I would probably, would bet, I probably default to the to like a 2/3 sizing too much, and I don't use the overbet as much as I should in my game. So, I mean, I default to like that kind of 2/3 or half sizing.
Sure. So yeah, there are some interesting elements going here because the 9, we have some straight interaction here. The spade, we have some flush draw, and then the ace has a bit of showdown, but also has the ability to improve to a better top pair than what's on board right now. So there are some competing elements going on here. I'm not sure what sizing I would use here. I might check back even. But we'll take a peek.
I'd say B83.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah,
Check back.
yeah, let's take a
I
peek.
mean, now that you talk about the overcard and stuff, I feel like checking does seem because like we're not folding out too much worse. I mean, too much better. We're not folding out.
So our range isn't checking very much. Our range is only checking 33% of the time. So why is this specific hand wanting to check? When we look at the matrix, right? King, queen wants to check. Ace nine wants to check. It doesn't want to check when it has the ace of spades.
Oh, nine of spades is checking.
Yeah, the nine of spades is checking, the ace is not. The king of spades is betting, the 10 of spades is betting. The queen's on board. Yeah, the jack of spades and the 10. Okay, so it's kind of the hierarchy, right? The 9 of spades is just a little low. It chooses to check back the 9 of spades because it's betting the ace, the king, and the jack. So it has enough single spade bluffs that it doesn't need to turn this into a single spade bluff. We probably want our opponent to have a 9 here as well. Oh,
Showdown.
yeah, I mean, very marginal made hand here. Oh, it
Oh,
goes
wow.
for value.
Sure, goes
Savage.
for value.
Yeah, you're leaving 10 chips on the table if you're not finding a value bet on this river.
Oh, I like it. I like the value type of bet. I mean, if he
Yeah.
checks to you twice, remember we got checked. Did we bet the flop?
Yeah, we bet
We
flop
bet
check
if-
turn.
Yeah, we bought. the
Yeah, so I guess like once we check turn and then he checks again on the river, like he doesn't have a queen. He probably does. You can get value from like 8x
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
hands.
Probably from 8, yeah.
What the fuck?
All right, so another spot where ace deuce is going to be a good call a lot. Ooh, so ace low with the rainbow. What does our range want to do here?
Better small, I think.
Hmm?
Check,
Small?
check a lot and better small, really small, I think.
Yep. So we don't have a lot of big bets here. I mean, I'm not finding very many checks with this hand.
Yeah,
It does check top and bottom. So it is, if you are betting, right? Top two, bottom two, both want to bet, and top and bottom want to check back as a general idea. I'm probably not very balanced in that. Yeah, top and bottom, bet more. 3-2 we don't have. Yeah, so ace deuce protects our checking range a little bit with some checks. And ace three bets. I am not so balanced on that side. I am here like a greedy gobbler looking for action.
And this is actually exactly why it checks back some whenever the card pairs are hands significantly downgraded.
Yep. Thanks for popping in, Nick, with the exact reason why. We have
Well,
now
yeah, we don't
nerfed
have
our
two pair
value.
anymore. This is like the worst card, one of the nut low cards for a hand. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Why you do that to me, poker?
You lose to every ace in the deck. Do we cry and call and hope he has ace six?
just crying call, yeah.
Just cry and call.
He also a lot of backdoor flush draws he has to float flop
Oh,
with.
chop it,
Hooray, we rivered him.
yeah.
All right, the deuce is loose.
No, he hit the turn on us with his. We sucked out on him, then he sucked out on us, and then we chopped. It's like the perfect poker hand.
All right, so queen 5-2 with a flush draw disconnected.
I think we
Pretty
can bet
safe.
small or large.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 70% small, 30% large.
A lot of small, a little bit of 55.
I go for, yeah, 33%.
A lot of small, a little bit of micro, a tiny
Zero
bit
large.
medium. Well, 3.5%. It's becoming a thing. Flush completes. We
It's
have
small
the,
still, I think.
yeah, we don't mind getting check raised.
I think I go this time 55%.
55, okay.
Personally, I mean,
We had a lot of micro betting before too, so it is gonna move up a little bit, but I think it's still gonna have a lot of this. Oh, it just moves the whole tier up. 55 or 83.
yeah, with the deuce of a spade, I think.
Do we have any
Yeah.
small bets on the turn?
Let's take a peek. Head back to that turn.
Thought we'd be betting a third, like at least a little, like 20% of the time or 30% of the time, with the flush completing.
That's a cutoff.
Yep, so back to us here.
Nope.
45 checks and it's half
Oh,
pot or three
yeah.
quarters.
Mostly half.
Okay.
So it's just a polarized spot when the flush completes, right? Flush completes drives our check frequency up. So. All right, do one or two more, and then next week we'll come back and we'll do the 3-bet spot. All right, King Jack 3, 2 high cards with a flush draw in a single raise pot. Do we want to be polar here?
I think this is a check or polar 3.9.
Yeah, I could check it.
I like 55%.
I think is a check or bet small, mostly a check with this hand. I think we'll definitely have polar components of our range. I don't think this hand wants to do it.
So I think this is going to be like 80% check, 20% bet for me.
I think that's good.
70% check, 17% bet, and a little bit of mixing these sizes in here too. But yeah, I think the idea here is that this is not the hand that we want to polarize. We're going to have stronger hands that we want to polarize in range here. This is going to give us a lot of easy 2-street plays. So when we look at our hands, what hands are we polarizing? So sets, get to bet small and a bit of big.
2 pair.
2 pairs. Our over pairs want to bet big, aces. Top pair is very kicker dependent, right? We can see King Queen wants to bet big, King 10 wants to bet big, and the other kings want to bet small or check back, right? And then we have a little bit of bluff with deuces, some bluff with ace high, right? Particularly these wheel aces.
25%.
Find these wheel aces that want to bet. Ace queen wants to bet, ace 10 wants to bet, right? Those gut shots. Yeah, we're here with lots of ace high and someone wants to bet, and lots of it wants to check. Okay, so a very good check back spot. Now our opponent has checked twice. We are given the green light to go, I think, now.
I don't think we'll really be polarized when we check the flop and a 2 hits. I think we're gonna be betting small a lot. I don't think really any of our hands want to go polar.
So
I
for
could be wrong.
me, I would bet jacks at this size a lot, and I would bet kings at this size a lot. We'll take a peek. It
Check.
still checks. Oh, I got to admit, like my hands are burning when I protect my checking range and get here with this king and get the dream turn card.
Yeah, I mean,
I gotta
He-
think.
when he checks twice, we're gonna bet the top pair.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm checking back too many jacks on that turn.
Like the
Never
brickiest
mind.
turn in the deck too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does check king 4 and king 5 and bets everything else.
Wow, it's
And yeah.
going polar. It's over betting. What is this?
So because it uses the big size, that's why it has these to protect that at the
Oh,
bottom.
yeah, okay. Very
Wow,
cool.
I couldn't be more wrong. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be betting small with a jack here too.
Look
Right?
at aces with the pure 200 bet. Just max greed.
2x pot. Balanced by pocket twos with the 2x pot.
Well, loses a set. Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, so we find the check back here. Please say we can go for value here.
Please.
Please,
I would go
one
for
street.
value.
I
One
don't
street
think
of-
we get to overbet. Yeah, we have to like half pot. When it checks down, it's just. That's why I thought on the turn we would, but in the river definitely our range is so capped because we bet all of our really strong hands before this point.
All right. So a lesson of humility, check back and it's because you're so polar on that turn, right? I am not that polar on that turn.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a
same.
spot for me to work on.
Same.
So we get
Betting small a ton.
another pure call, good spot. Oh, another king jack board. This time we get led into. So our opponent is supposed to not have a lot of leads here. So let's take a
What
look at.
percentage of the time do you think our range is raising?
Ooh, that's a great question. We'll flip over to this YouTube channel while that page loads and everyone can guess. What
Solid
percentage? of
answers.
the- Um, 5 to 10% raises.
Yeah, I
Maybe
was thinking
0.
I was thinking 7. I don't think it's very often, maybe even less. But I could be wrong. I have no idea. They're not supposed to lead that much.
No, not on the king jack board from out of position. So let's find out what they are leading because this is an interesting spot. So they're only leading 10% of the time, but they're leading with all the garbage in their range. They're not leading, they're leading with some jacks, they're leading with lots of kings, both small and medium here. So, all right.
How much are we raising?
Oh, I forgot to take a peek at that. Yeah, what do we say, about 7%, maybe less?
Yeah. What I
So-
would guess, but I have no clue.
It is 8.6% raising.
Well,
And
not
it
often.
is our best kings, pocket aces, bottom set, and wheel draws, backdoor wheels, backdoor flush.
Okay.
So yeah, if your opponent leads and you find that the raise with ace 3 of spades, you are ready for some awesome poker. But this is gonna just fit into the friend zone and call. And our opponent polarizes turn. Ooh.
Yeah.
So here we have a spot where our opponent is polarized. So they have the worst of their hands, which probably is like ace 3 of diamonds or queen 3 of diamonds here.
I'm done with these polarizing shits.
And they have the best of their hands, like ace king and king jack. So we are stuck in the middle. I don't think
We're
there's
still
anything to do
calling,
but
but we
call.
don't like it. I mean, well, we do like it, but we're not like, loving it.
Yep. It's a good thing our opponents has all kinds of bluffs. Oh my goodness. Did I
Alright,
say ace?
so
Did I say ace four of diamonds was in range?
we don't want a 10, we don't want a 9, we don't want a diamond.
Hmm.
An 8 isn't that, he could do this with like. Oh, never mind, 8 doesn't matter.
Yeah, eight's probably good for us to have. It unblocks
Yeah.
all of his bluffs.
Yeah,
So like, it's better to call king 8 than king 10 here.
I think we're indifferent. I think this is a toss up.
I think it's a pure
Top-
call, and it sucks.
Yeah, top pair, stacked pot ratio of less than 1. There is no folding this.
Wow,
And-
you greedy fucker.
He savaged us.
God,
Triple barrel blasted top pair medium kicker.
I lied,
You-
king jack is better.
He knows
Pretty
we're
funny.
he knows we're a caller station.
He's got me tagged. I have me tagged the calling station too, it's okay.
Yeah,
He's going all in with king 9 and not
I
all in
feel like
with.
once you study too much, you start becoming a massive calling station, and then you have to learn to stop, and then you have to learn to get a calling station again. And then you just keep doing it like it's a cycle.
So
He's
he chooses
jamming
king
so much
9
of his
all in.
range. This is crazy.
Look
60% of the
all
time
this
he's
range
jamming.
stuff talk. I mean, can't we just use our live reads? How
Yep.
did Vegas go, Peter? We didn't get to meet up.
We did not get to meet up. We'll have to meet up next year. But
Or
yeah,
in
it was good.
December.
I met up with Jamie while we were down there, so we had a good time.
Nice.
All right, we'll do one more before we wrap it up for tonight.
Raise or call. Call.
Oh,
Call's
Most
better.
easily call.
Call this. Raise the other one.
Next
raise the
week we're gonna
offsuit.
do all the range interaction on the raise side.
calling.
All right. Queen 5-2 rainbow board disconnected low, queen low. What does our range want to do? What does our hand want to do?
I think we'll have a lot of small bets here.
Hmm.
And I'm betting small with this hand as well. I think we're probably betting like 60% of the range small. Maybe like 5 to 10% large, and checking the rest.
So this specific hand, King Jack wrapping around the queen, gives us a barrel with a 10, with a 9, with a diamond. I see myself double barreling this hand a lot. Right? We get to check back the turn when we make a jack. We get to continue betting when we make a king. So yeah, I would be betting this hand a lot. I am not finding 40% checks with this hand. That's for sure. And as planned,
Oh, wait, we just called pre-flop. Yeah, I think we probably do want to check a lot. Now we
Yep.
want to bet because we have value in our range. We got some value up in this bitch.
I am going to be in this neighborhood a lot.
I'm going 83 or over betting, I think.
See, I mean, when they check twice, you think that overbet is a lot better then?
We see bet flop.
Oh, we
Yeah.
see that it flop, but we're supposed to be checking. Oh, I don't
Well,
know.
either
Yeah,
one
I
was
guess.
fine.
It was 40% check, 60% betting, so it was okay to bet.
Okay, I mean, I don't find the overbet as much as I need to. So if there's an overbet, then this
I go
overbet.
55. Yeah,
It might not be, yeah, Pete's
55.
right.
83, 55, it's okay.
Little bit too much.
Nick wants to get revenge against the greedy
Yeah,
solver who got us
I'm
last
mad at
hand.
this guy.
at King 10. Oh my god!
He has you all the
Hopefully-
time.
He has all the ace king in range, which sucks, but I mean, this is an easy call.
This is an easy call. This is a mathematical call, but like,
Yes, king, queen.
ooh. I mean,
Yeah.
all right.
I think against humans, you can fold this quite often.
Oh,
87.
That's ridiculous.
I'm getting the-
wow.
He didn't
I'm
wanna,
get-
he didn't wanna fold there. He
Can we
wanted
see
to
the
rip it in
frequency
your
of that
face.
check shove?
With the
Sure.
ace
You also
high.
see our flop.
I agree with, Andrew Broco said that in the main, like, don't be afraid to fold top pair to raise when you're in like the early levels of the damn main, or even late in the main, when you know people are just not finding bluffs, raises, and you're like, I have one pair. And they're like,
Pure
oh,
jam.
look at my fucking set here.
Yeah. It is
Come
like
on.
90% jam, 10% 3-bet small.
He
Wow.
jamming
But it
all
is-
of his low.
I won the
draws here?
biggest flip just now in the 99.
Right. Yeah, like this is pretty wild.
I-
Right. So
I don't recall seeing this strategy before.
our opponent has some 2 pairs that just call. It's top
Wait, they're
pair.
really check jamming pretty rarely, it looks like. They're mostly calling and they're mostly folding to our double barrel, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of folding. Look at all that folding. Or it feels like it looks like a lot of folding, but it's 48% fold. This is what I was watching, and like if you don't double barrel, a lot of your C bets on the flop are like wasting money. But if you do double barrel, then you're just the god of poker.
Yeah. So our
Oh, got
opponent
it.
mostly just calls kings and queens here, raising 2 pair and the best kings. Right. And so then he needs to find some bluffs to balance out the 2 pairs and the aces and the ace king and the king jack. So when it looks for those bluffs, it finds these wheel bluffs here. And then it finds these ones here that are flush draws. That
What was
don't
our,
block.
go ahead.
What was our strategy, Nick?
On the flop, what was our like betting frequency?
60%.
Yeah, I was guessing like 60% with range or small and then 10% large. I don't know if that's right or not.
25% small,
Yeah,
30%. Actually, mostly
not-
small.
Just a small bet.
Yeah,
Just a
60% small, never sizing up. Okay.
Yeah, which is what we did, right? We bet 30 per there. We bet
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
2.35 chips
Yeah.
here. So we were okay. So yeah, as played, great job. Enjoy all the tournament chips this hand.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks for popping by and checking out this study session. We'll be doing range interaction for the next little while. And so we'll be building these videos that kind of work on top of each other. And so we're going to be looking at it from the button side, and then we're going to be looking at it from the cutoff side, and we're going to be looking at 3-bet pots in the same way. So stick with us over the next few Mondays throughout the summer and then into the fall for some more range construction videos.
Sounds good. Button versus cutoff is really interesting because